Move toward the British Embassy and into the first floor on the side. There'll be enough people here to watch your bags, don't worry.
Don't be afraid. You're in good hands. You're well protected. All right?
After the Italian people, we pass to foreign people.
Another thing might be...
After a relatively peaceful weekend in the centre of West Beirut, traders and shoppers decided it was safe today to return to the streets. Long queues built up outside the backstreet bakeries as families flocked to restock food supplies. The ovens had been hot all night to cater for hundreds of people who have not dared move out of their basements since fighting began last week. As other traders laid out their stalls, the main shops and banks also opened. Workmen moved into the worst-hit areas to restore electricity and telephone lines. The Red Cross, whose headquarters was also shelled, found a new home in an empty garage which cannot get fuel from the east. Cinemas too reopened their doors, though, as if the people have not seen enough, the screens were filled with violence.
Remarkably, after a week in which his army submitted to Moslem militias, leaving half the city in their hands, the capital thrown back almost a decade to old civil war lines of defense, and opponents wanting his blood, Amin Jamal is still the Lebanese president. No one knows better than Jamal that the green line which now divides the city symbolizes his failure at reconciliation so far, and no Lebanese are foolish enough to believe that the scenes of destruction today won't be repeated tomorrow. It's a stalemate which has at least stopped most of the fighting. When that happens, the factions resume dialogue and Beirut breathes again.
The helicopter had flown from the USS Trenton, which was anchored off Larnaca, together with the USS Manitowoc. The 505 evacuees had left Beirut on Friday. Each person had been allowed to take 2 suitcases. An American official said that the evacuees were mainly American, but they'd been willing to take on anyone who turned up wanting to leave Beirut, regardless of nationality. In the harbour, a Lebanese freighter docked loaded with refugees from the fighting. These are the lucky ones who could afford to pay their passage out of the ravaged city. On board the Dani Laki, registered in Beirut, were 150 Lebanese, together with a few Japanese businessmen. The Lebanese had become hardened to Beirut's nightmare of violence, but the last few days had proved too much. For some, it was clearly a traumatic disembarkation. The refugees have left behind their homes and their livelihoods, but are glad to escape the nightmare of bloodshed in Beirut.